Hey everybody, it's Jay, and I finally had a chance to get my BRN-10A out to the range and put some rounds through it, get it sighted in. So let's cut over to some range footage real quick, and then I'll come back here and talk a little bit more about how this gun performed. So there were a few interesting things that I noticed about this when shooting it. Before I get into that though, this is a reproduction. They call it a Sudanese contract original AR-10. I've had a few people correct me on that, even though that's not coming from me. That's coming from Brownells saying that it's not very similar. There are definitely elements of the Cuban contract, but at the end of the day, this is none of those things. This is a modern reproduction that's trying to imitate a style. So let's be really clear about that first, is this is not an exact reproduction of anything, but it is pretty close to the Sudanese rifles, and I believe some of the Cuban contract rifles that you've seen. So, performance. I started shooting this, tried to sight it in. Of course, with iron sights, there's no consideration for optics on here, which is fine, because it's a reproduction. There is no hole in the carry handle here, so you're pretty much just stuck with the carry handle iron sights. I started trying to shoot it at 100 yards using, I believe I was using Silver Bear 148 grain ammo, and was a little bit heartbroken to realize that I couldn't hit paper at all at 100 yards. So I started making sight adjustments, took it to 50 yards, and I was hitting so high, again, even at 50 yards, it was just insane. I was hitting very high, very right. So I started looking at the sight to make the adjustments and noticed that the rear sight, which has a window here, which you can see is actually marked for, at the very lowest point, is marked for 300/0. So it's a 300 yard zero, or maybe even 300 meter zero. I'm not 100% certain. Yeah, I thought, well, I'll give it a shot at my 200 yard steel plate target, and instantly, first shot, hit it right out of the box. And was able to consistently hit it even from a standing position, the 200 yard steel plate with iron sights, which for me is a big deal because I'm terrible with anything but scopes. Understanding that, I realized that I needed to adjust my holdover a little bit at 100 yards and then didn't have any issues. I was not shooting the best ammunition, and again, shooting iron sights, there's a lot of variability for me with those because I can't see exactly where I'm pointing. I mean, I can tell I'm on target, but that's about it. And so I was getting, with that ammo, about 3-inch groups, and I noticed my groups tightened up overall whenever I switched to some 168 grain ammunition that I had, which was also just, it was Colt branded, so it's super old stuff. And I believe it's also made by Brownells. It's Russian steel case, either way. So it's not necessarily the highest quality ammunition either. But being able to consistently hit, even from a standing position, a steel plate at 200 yards felt good to me. And that's more than accurate enough for this type of gun. I also had my Vepr 54R out, which you can see behind me, shooting side by side. This has so much less recoil than the Vepr 54R, and it's a lot lighter. So, it's a fun gun to shoot. It's just very light and handy feeling, even with having a pretty heavy barrel in the 308. Also realize I've been sitting to the right this whole time. One of the eccentricities I've noticed about it is the charging handle on this is extremely hard to pull back. Even now, trying to mortar it, it's kind of ridiculous. I think the detent that holds the carry handle or the charging handle forward to keep it from moving backwards during firing is pretty aggressive. I think that's kind of the main thing. I've tried greasing it and stuff. I think it'll wear in over time, but yeah, it's a few times I just kind of put it against the bench and then pulled down on it with my thumb. It's really hard to get enough leverage with your offhand to charge it with 2 fingers. that's really, really tight. It's kind of ridiculous. Doesn't impact function. It's just kind of an annoying thing. What else about it? I did paint this using some Krylon brown paint. I don't know if you can tell or not in the camera. It did not hold up very well and immediately started showing scratches. Probably would have been better. I was using Krylon Color Max. Would have been better if I'd put a clear coat over the top of it, a couple coats of that to make it a little more durable. But the thing of it is with this type of paint, it's super easy to just paint it. The biggest headache is just getting the furniture back off, which is, you know how difficult that is with an AR. It's not very difficult. And then I can touch it back up if I want to make it look pretty again, but it's just going to get scratched up eventually again anyway. I'll probably just leave it as it is unless I go to sell it. So yeah, lightweight, decently accurate with cheap ammo, even with iron sights. Really fun. The recoil impulse just doesn't seem as bad as I remember most AR-308s being. Definitely better than my Vepr 54R, so that's good. I did put a Geisley trigger in it. You can check out the Geisley trigger comparison videos I did if you want more information on that. And I'm sure that that probably didn't hurt with my accuracy at all either. Reliability has been very good, except after... I think we probably put about 500 rounds through it. It started to choke a little bit on steel cased ammo. Did fine with brass. And I had to go just clean it out real good. And ever since then, it's been 100%. And it was kind of strange because it kind of hitched for a couple mags, and then it seemed to be getting better the more I shot it. Then I went and cleaned it, and I haven't had an issue since with it. So, sight adjustment, back to that. The rear sight is adjusted. There's a set screw in here. You loosen it, and then you can drift the rear sight left and right. The only way to adjust elevation is to rotate the knob, which is apparently preset 0 for 300 yards. The problem I had with adjusting that rear sight is there's nothing really fixing that rear sight. So once you adjust that set screw and push it to one way or the other, it's just going to slide all the way over one way or the other. So you have to be very careful if you're making fine-tune adjustments. It's definitely not a precision sight. I mean, in as much as any ghost ring is, but from an adjustment standpoint, you're still looking at kind of minute of man adjustments. But it's fine. It worked fine. So yeah, I did a video back around Thanksgiving talking about guns that I was thankful for. And the two that I picked were both my Brownells retro guns. Because I've never been a big AR guy, neither Mishaco nor myself are. But I've always appreciated from a distance the retro ARs. And it always seemed like something that was never going to be really obtainable because by the time I got into guns, the parts kits and stuff were pretty well gone. And the rifles, nobody was making a reproduction rifle. And even now, if you try to get parts kits, I think I saw some 601 parts kits for like $3,500 or something not too long ago. And it's just, they're crazy expensive to try to get anything original like that. So having these reproductions available that are compatible with modern magazines and modern furniture and all that stuff, and then them making reproduction furniture, it's nice. It's nice. It's cool. This is a neat gun. I say that a lot, but this is a neat gun. One of the few 308s that I really like. So anyway, hope you liked the video. Please click like if you did. Be sure to subscribe to us if you haven't already, and go check out the link to our Patreon if you're interested in helping support us. And this is Jay, and I will see you again very soon. Nope. Ridiculous. Next time.